What's up guys, I'm here with another college app video. So you're probably a rising senior ready to start the college application process, but you're wondering, where do I start? So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'm going to Stanford this fall. I was accepted into 8 out of the 8 colleges I applied to, and so I want to give my advice to you on how I did that and how to stay organized and stress-free during the whole process. A lot of people, when you ask for advice, usually say, start early. Well, start early doing what? In my personal opinion, I think it's so important you know how you're going to approach your college apps before you actually start them. So what should you be doing summer before senior year? Do your research. That is so important. Do your research. I'm gonna take you through what I did for my research when I was applying to college. Everything on here is on the app OneNote. It's a Microsoft application. You can download it on your computer, so you'll see my screen, and this is what I did to stay organized. So on this page, I just put everything about all the colleges I am applying to. So on the left-hand column, I have the college name, and then what major I'm applying to. And then I have the application deadline here, which is really important because you need to know your dates and deadlines. So I have that. What's required of each college, that's so important. Make sure you do your research into each college that you're applying to and find out what they require. For example, do they require the Common App essay? Do they have separate questions that you need to answer? How many letters of rec? How many optional letters of rec? Do they require an arts portfolio, or if it's optional, if you want to go in that realm. And if you're doing an audition, if you want to go for theater or music, how long does the cut need to be? All of those things are super important and super specific that you need to do your research about. So then I also have when the decision would be released, and then these are my SAT score sends. I just mark down like, okay, I sent them the scores from this date or that date. Interviews, you should know how your school does interviews, if they do interviews in the first place. And then on the right, I have different schools, the information for each school if I wanted to get more in depth. So for Stanford, I wrote all about the arts portfolio. I just copied stuff, I put links. So it's nice to have that for every college that you're applying to. Yeah, so that's nice. I also got organized by putting all the essay prompts in its own little section in OneNote. So if I click on essay prompts, here's Stanford's. I have all the ones I listed, and then I even made a key in terms of what I would want to talk about in terms of my own stuff. So whether I'm talking about art or tech, so I just showed the whole version of me to Stanford. And then I have checkboxes, whether I finish them or not. I did end up finishing them, even though the checkboxes are unchecked. Here are some example essays that I read online. Yeah, so that's that for Stanford. There's for USC, all the ones. My next important piece of advice is manage your time wisely. So I'm gonna show you my little schedule that I made on here. This is the schedule that I made for myself. It might be a little confusing for you, but to me it made sense. Each color was a different month, and then on the left-hand column it was the date. So I don't remember what month this was, but maybe like September 16th, September 23rd, September 30th, etc. It would go by each week. So each row was a different week. And then on the right-hand column, I would put what I needed to get done by that week. Like essays I needed to write, or videos I needed to make for college, etc. And then these were my dates to submit. I didn't end up applying to Yale. It's so important that you make a schedule so that things don't end up biting you in the butt, because I've realized that I had so many essays to write in such a short amount of time, and I actually started freaking out until I made the schedule, and it made me feel a lot better. But it also made me realize how quick I needed to move when writing my essays. I couldn't just spend a couple weeks on one essay. I needed to do an essay a week or more. So another way to manage your time wisely and stay on track and stay organized is, aside from the schedule, the weekly schedule, you could also use Google Calendar. I was about to say Google Docs. That too, use Google Docs. Anyways, in Google Calendar, this is my calendar, or what was my calendar back then. It looks a little crazy, but what's in green is just what I needed to study for the SAT. Didn't exactly follow that schedule, but made it work. So here we are, October. Let's see, I went to the library here and I got this awesome book called College Essay Essentials, which you need to get and read before you start writing your Common App essay. I'll talk about writing essays in just a bit. And then if you can see, in this week I was making a video for USC for their Iovine and Young program, which I did end up getting accepted to. If you have questions about that, let me know. This day I'm submitting to UCs, then I submitted to Stanford, then I submitted to USC, and then I submitted to the other, and then these were when the applications were actually due. So I wanted to make sure I submitted them before the date it was due, because that would freak me out. You never know, sometimes online has crashes. Anyways, that was my schedule. I'm gonna talk to you now about writing. So to start off on approaching your essays, you gotta brainstorm. Don't just start writing your essays blindly. It's so important to brainstorm first to make sure you're writing about the thing that actually matters most. If you read the book College Essay Essentials, it gives you tips and ways to brainstorm that are really helpful, so read that book. When you're brainstorming, you could write anything about yourself, like your passions, your inspirations, your memories, your difficulties, your challenges, your role models, your traditions, your culture, everything that makes you. I think it's really interesting throughout this whole college application process. I learned a lot about myself that I didn't even know about before, because doing the essays makes me really think about who I am. Who am I as a person? How do I think? How do I feel? And you start to realize the things that make you unique. Writing is a process. You're not gonna write one draft and call it gold. It just doesn't work that way. You're gonna write many, many, many drafts. So I'm gonna talk about my process of writing and how I went through that. First, I made a structure for my essay. So I knew what I was gonna talk about, and I would just bullet point everything that I was gonna talk about in the essay. Here is just an example of one of my PIQs for the UCs. I have what I did, problems I solved, lessons learned, values gained, the impact I had, and how I applied what I learned. Then what I do is this thing called trash write, which is where I write the entire essay horribly. Not purposely horribly, but just to get it out, just to start turning my bullet points into words and sentences. So do that for the entire essay and just don't stop. I know a lot of times I wanted to do like a paragraph and then perfect it, go over it again, then move on, then perfect that paragraph. And keep going, and then go on to the third paragraph and make sure that was perfection. But that takes a lot of time, and once you do that, you might realize that the structure is a little bit off in the first place, so you have to go back and change it and perfect it again, and that just wastes more time. Please just trash write the whole thing, then go in and draft it again and again and again. Yeah, so after I trash write, I will do a first draft where I go in and I actually try to make it sound good this time. Yeah, from there, just keep drafting it, keep rewriting the whole thing, making little edits along the way, and then ask some other people for help, maybe your parents, maybe a teacher, and they will help you get your essay to where it needs to be. When writing, it's important to show, don't tell. In almost all of my essays, I started with an anecdote or a little story or something that was going through my mind. And it was almost like I was writing a story instead of an essay. So it's not really a introduction. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, conclusion. To sum up, I did this. It's not like that. It's more personal. There's different types of essays. Once again, read the book. It explains it all. So yeah, in your writing, it's important to get descriptive and specific. Specific is so important. A lot of people just kind of glaze over what you learned or what you did. Tell us, really show us what you did and what you learned and how you felt about it and how it changed you as a person. Here's an interesting thing. The universities on the Common App are a little bit different in terms of the way they like you to write your essays than the UCs. And I realized this through my research, which is why you should do your research too. So the Common App colleges, specifically Stanford, are really interested in seeing how you think and how your mind works, and you can get creative with your writing a lot more than the UCs. The UCs kind of want you to just say things out straightforward. This is what I did, this is what I learned. Not exactly like that, but you know what I mean. They're a lot more straight to the point and less fluff in your writing. But with the Common App essays, I feel like you can be a lot more creative with the way you approach them. Take advantage of every opportunity you get to learn something new about the college application process. Sometimes I would just get an email inviting me to a webinar, and so I would just do it. It was for free, so I just try it out, and then I learned so much, and I took notes actually on webinars. On the side here, I have essay webinar by Questbridge, and I took screenshots of different versions. This is where they said show, don't tell. I also did a webinar with College Week Live. Oh yeah, here's a fun tip. Don't say, I learned blah blah blah. Just say the blah blah blah, because they already know you learned it. If you're talking about someone else in your essays, focus it on you. Focus on how they impacted you. I personally did that in my Common App essay. I talked about my grandpa. You can hear about that essay in my other video. Go check it out. But yeah, just stay focused on you, because they don't care about other people. This is your application that they're reading. So if you get any chance to join a webinar or read a little something online, do it. A lot of times the webinars are inviting you to then pay for a program or pay for assistance, but if you don't have the money for that, then that's fine. Just watch the webinar. And that's how I got so much information. Like, I didn't join any of these programs where you had to pay to learn about how to do the college app process. Just simply watching the webinar helped me so much. Alrighty, so I think that's all I have to say. The most important thing, of course, is making a schedule and staying organized. I recommend OneNote, as I have on my computer. So thank you so much for watching, and I wish you luck.